Welcome back, Buccaneers fans, to another episode of Hear the Cannons, presented by BucsGameday.com, Sports Illustrated's one and only website strictly dedicated to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My name is Caleb Skinner at CHS Noel on X. I'm a writer and reporter here for BucsGameday.com. Along with me, as always, is our lead editor at BucsGameday, River Wells at River H Wells on X. I remembered it. You didn't even put the tag up here, man, and I remembered your X.
You know what, Caleb? I'm honored. I really am.
Awesome.
We're slowly making new steps in our relationship, folks. He knows my tag. Yeah.
It took me a long time. I'm kidding. It didn't
Yeah.
take too long. The river fits right in with everybody as well. Great Buccaneers fan, like the rest of us here watching. If you are watching anywhere else other than on YouTube, we highly recommend heading over there. That's where you're able to get your comments up here, your questions, if you have questions for myself or River or any of our special guests when we have them on as well. You're going to want to head over to YouTube, be able to get those in. We're not able to see them when it comes across via X or Facebook to be able to get those live for you guys. So truly appreciate it if you do hop over to YouTube and are watching us from there. We've got some regulars that thoroughly enjoy to conversate in there as well. So you guys can just spark up conversation and just have a good old grand old time, if you will. While you're there, click that subscribe button, click that like button. We try to shoot for about 50 per episode. So greatly appreciate that
Please
as
do.
well. And then if you're looking for us to go live and want to be notified, click that bell button up there in the top. It'll notify you anytime we are going live or anytime that we have a video going or a reel. So truly appreciate you guys, especially our YouTube listeners who get in there. Oh, River, look at you putting your ad up there. But new addition to River's background, if you guys haven't already noticed, the new 76 jersey, Tristan Wirfs back there. How's it treating you so far, man? I know you just got it today.
I did. It looks gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I mean, the color that's the best uniform they have. It's one of the best uniforms in the NFL. I do love me an all white uni, the stormtrooper look they call it.
Oh yeah.
So it looks good. Looks good. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Glad that you got it. You didn't have to wait like 8 months. Sometimes you got to wait a while for those
You do. You
jerseys to
do.
come. But
Yeah.
it looks pretty sweet hanging back there. I'm sure you're looking forward to the first time you get to actually wear it without getting dirty. But speaking of worse, there's an update that came out today from Todd Bowles, as well as another offensive starter in Chris Godwin. We've already known that Rachaad White is back at practice, maybe not quite at 100% coming off that groin injury that Todd Bowles originally listed as day to day. So it's good to see that he's back out there. But those are three main guys for the Buccaneers offense. What's the news that Todd Bowles gave us today, River?
Yeah, Rachaad White looks pretty good, I think. He's moving around pretty well. He was practicing today. It was a short one because it was the last day of training camp. So we're done with training camp. We made it. So that was fun. He's looking good. And then Todd Bowles did give us some news about Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin, like you mentioned. It's looking like they will both not start on the PUP list to begin the season. The assumption was that they would, and that would be at least 4 games that they'd have to miss, but that is not going to be the case now. They can be activated at any point if they make the 53-man roster, which they will. The general consensus from Adam Schefter's initial report on Chris Godwin is that he's not going to play until October, which makes sense given his injury, but they want him to practice. And same thing with Tristan Wirfs. They want to get him back at practice. If you're on the PUP list, if you're on IR, you can't practice. So that's the biggest benefit of how a lot of people are asking me, why would they do this? They're not going to play him until October anyway, and you could get those roster spots down. The reason is because they want them to be back there practicing, ramping up to be healthy instead of just coming back for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that's more valuable than having 2 extra players in the 53-man roster. So that's what that news is. So that's encouraging. I think it's still likely we see them after week 4. So Seattle Seahawks onward. But, I mean, there's a very, very, very slim possibility, if they could be back for the Philadelphia Eagles game in week 4, that would be pretty big, right? Because it's going to be a tough game. That's an NFC game. That's the big bad wolf right now in the NFL. They have a great roster. They're probably still going to win the NFC again. They're fantastic. And if you can get a win on that team, which the Bucs play them pretty well, right? Historically, the Eagles. If you can get a win on that team with guys like Chris Godwin and Tristan Morrison there, that'd be huge. So I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'd say you ask me right now, I'd say probably not going to be back quite in time for that. But being off PUP gives them the option, essentially. So That's good. I saw Richard here in the comments asking what Wirfs' injury was. If you remember last year in week 10 against the San Francisco 49ers, he got hit in the knee. I believe that was his MCL. It was an MCL. He came back 2 weeks later because MCLs are unfortunate, but typically you can play on them. And then as it turned out, there was some extra damage there on that MCL that they discovered late into the offseason, this offseason. So that's a cleanup surgery from that same injury last year.
Yep. And it's rough. That was one thing we were hoping to avoid, injuries. Coming into this season, it was big, point of emphasis coming in, stay injured, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And now it seems like the offense is dealing with all the injuries, prior to the season starting. Hopefully that will kind of rectify itself as we move along into past week 4, like River had mentioned about them being potentially able to return at that point, week 5 against the Seattle Seahawks in the away game. Being able to ramp up is such a huge part of getting back to, game speed, getting back to knowing how your body is going to move after this injury or said injury, whatever it may be. So getting those guys in rhythm is going to be good. It's good to know that White's going to be healthy, being able to, bounce off of Bucky Irving there in the 2 running back system with Sean Tucker involved as well. And then obviously, Charlie Heck is kind of filling in for Tristan until he's back. Hopefully that one seems like it could move a little bit faster than perhaps the Godwin injury, in my opinion. And the Godwin injury is intriguing because so many people have been trying to nitpick little things in here about what so-and-so said, about what, the reports are saying with him. And they're trying to nitpick it apart to a point to where they're kind of trying to devalue, what Chris has done in his rehab, I guess is the best way to put it, or say that there's been some major roadblocks. Why is it taking this long, or so on and so forth. So it's just very confusing. I think that's the biggest thing for fans alike that they're having when it comes to Chris Godwin. Like, what's real, what's not? Did he suffer a setback in his rehab? Is he, still on pace? Because that's all we've heard from the front office and the staff. So I don't know, just wait and see. I mean, we don't have any more inside information than anybody else really does, other than us reporting what we hear and what we see. And that's all we can do from our end of things. But continuing on this, injury bug topic of conversation that we're on, River, we know that David Walker, rookie defensive end, out for the season, tore his ACL. JJ Roberts also out for the season. Young, promising undrafted guy himself. So the injuries are piling up. And then we've got other injuries that are not as well known. And, those are 2, Tyke Smith, Christian Izien, Tyreek Vanderberg, and Josh Hayes, which I, a minute ago, had said that, was on the defensive side last year. And here we are with them having more injuries as well. What can you tell us about that group of guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys will probably be ready for week 1, right? Which is good. Jamel Dean was briefly hurt, didn't practice, came back fine. Antoine Winfield Jr. briefly had a hamstring, came back fine. We've been hearing that Benjamin Morrison, who has a hamstring sort of issue, should be fine for week 1. They just want to shut him down until then, so that's good. Everyone seems like they're going to be fine. The one thing is Christian Izien. And Christian Izien hurt his groin. And Todd Bowles said that it's a pain tolerance issue. So as long as he can play through it, he can play through it. But it hurts, basically, is all that means. Initially, we were getting the vibe that it would be after week 1 that he would return. So he'd be out for week 1. We spoke to Todd Bowles today, actually, and he said he's week to week. Is what he called it. So that's better, I think, than that initial sort of thing. That initial estimate, right? Which means he could be back for week 1 if he's feeling good enough to play. If it really, really hurts, then he's going to probably wait it out until he feels better. Some of those pain tolerance injuries can be really brutal, especially with how much that, structurally everything's fine, but it just really is painful. Groins are like that. Hyperextended knees are like that. If you ever see those, that's typically just a pain tolerance issue, but it's just very painful. So we'll see where Christian Izien's at. He's a big Swiss Army knife for this Buccaneers defense. He can play anywhere, a really good depth piece, so they're going to want him back as soon as possible. But other than that, I do think everyone should be in play for week 1. Except for obviously Tristan Wirfs, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan is going to be out past the bye week perhaps. But all these little injuries that they've been building up, it's looking like those guys are going to be able to come back and play.
That's good news. Overall, that's good news. And you had mentioned
Yeah.
towards the end of that about McMillan. Everybody who was watching the preseason game this past weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers, very early on in the game, McMillan goes. I said this to one of my coworkers the other day. I was like, number one, Teddy should not have thrown a ball that high. Number two, Jalen should not have even tried to attempt to go up and catch it. And number three, the Steelers defender should not have tried to tackle him and clip him the way that he did.
I believe that was Joey Porter Jr., wasn't it?
So it was like
Yeah.
everything that could go wrong went wrong on that play,
Yeah.
and that's what ended up happening. And you see McMillan go, head down and butt up in the air, and all of a sudden he's on his neck. Looked way worse, I think, watching it than what eventually came out of it. Yes, he is going to be out past week 9, which I don't remember who we play at that point, but that's a good amount of time that you're going to be without Jalen McMillan. How much is that going to impact the Bucs? And then off that, what do you see happening? Because now Emeka Egbuka is solidified as the number 2 wide receiver to start the season, especially with Chris gone. And then even when Chris comes back, I don't know if he's going to relinquish that job at all.
Yeah. It's interesting because the battle between Emeka Egbuka and Jalen McMillan for wide receiver 3 was a big one going into this. And personally, I thought that it was going to be Egbuka. And I do think that's what's going to end up being in play, is that the lineup would have been just, estimation, what we've seen in camp, our best guess. Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka, right? McMillan coming in potentially as a sort of,
matchup
guy, change of pace guy, certain packages, which is very valuable and great, and he will still do that. But that kind of means that, assuming, knock on proverbial wood here, that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka can all stay healthy once they come back, that's going to be the lineup, right? So you don't have a huge drop off from there. The interesting thing is who is wide receiver 3 when Chris Godwin is not there, which is a fun conversation. Some people like Sterling Shepard. Some people like Tez Johnson. Ryan Miller's had some love thrown in there too, and I'm actually not surprised. He's a very good blocker, very disciplined route runner. I'm thinking Sterling Shepard probably
X tight end, baby. X tight end.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I asked Ryan Miller a few days ago, what's the biggest part about being a tight end that's kind of transitioned to your receiver game in the NFL, and he said, no block, no rock, which is, of course, a old receiver adage, right? So I think Sterling Shepard probably will take that wide receiver 3 role whenever Godwin's not there. And then once Godwin's there, you've kind of got your starting lineup back in.
Do you think that it would be Sterling because of his comfortability with Baker and all those years?
Sure, and his experience, right?
Yeah.
Just playing in the NFL for as long as he does, having that rapport with Baker. And he had a bit of a drop problem last year, but he did do some really good stuff. I think in crunch time, made some good catches. He kind of came in clutch sometimes during injuries. And aside from those little things he needs to clean up, he's got all that advantage. He's got that advantage over Tez Johnson.
It's like the best season he's had in like 2 or 3 years too. So.
Yeah. So I think that's fair. You obviously you could want for someone better to be your wide receiver 3, but as far as wide receiver 3s across the league goes, that's not too bad.
No, and I think ultimately it comes down to this is gonna force Grizzard to get in his bag. This is gonna force Grizzard to kind of do what Liam had to do last year when he was losing everybody left and right, when he didn't have Chris or Mike, and he had to come up and be creative. So I think this is kind of gonna force Grizzard's hand a little bit very early on in the season.
Yeah, for sure. We asked Rob McCartney, who's the assistant GM, we're like, do you think it's going to be more 13 and 12 personnel with all these guys out? And he looked at us and he said, well, we'll let Atlanta and Houston figure that one out. I'm not going to tell you, which makes sense. But you might see a little bit more of that sort of thing, right? You might see some Kate Otten getting their chips and defensive ends with Christian Wirfs out. Grizzard's got to kind of get creative like Liam Cohen did. And when Liam Cohen did it, he ended up figuring out this pony package, and he found out all these useful players that could be put in this personnel. Because I think Liam Cohen genuinely is kind of an offensive genius in the way that he can really take pieces and figure out where they fit on the chessboard.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if Josh Grizzard is the same type of person. I don't know if he is. He might not be. Maybe he is. So that'll be interesting to see kind of how he adapts, but you're not going to do it for too long.
Mhm.
Week 5, it's looking like might be the target for guys like Wirfs and Godwin. That would be huge, right?
Right.
We talked about this before. If you can go 2-2 during that stretch, I think you could start stacking some wins once Godwin and Wirfs come back. So, beat the Jets, beat the Falcons, hopefully. You can drop Houston. You'd love to win the Philly game because they're an NFC team, but they're also the Philadelphia Eagles, which sucks. But if you can get past that sort of thing, man, you could start stacking wins out. The back half of the schedule is not particularly difficult. The NFC South is all in the back half of the schedule after the bye, so you're well rested for that. The division's not that tough. I think the Falcons are really the only team that's going to give Tampa Bay a run for its money, and I don't really trust them where they're at this season. We'll see how it goes and how good Michael Penix is. Obviously, he might take a step up, but otherwise, it's a favorable schedule for the Bucs. They're going to have all their pieces back at the right time, I think. They have a late bye. Things are looking favorable for there. So Gazard's going to have to make do, but he's not going to have to make do for too long.
Yeah,
so,
I think he'll be all right. I'm interested to see how he does the thing, like dealing with the same problems that we had last year. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
And I know he's got Mike at his disposal, so there's obvious advantage when it comes to trying to figure things out. But for sure, interesting to see that wide receiver 3 question mark up until Godwin's return. But it could be anybody. I mean, you could go Tez, like you had mentioned. You could go Sterling, you can go Ryan Miller, you could go Trey Palmer. If you're just having a go route or something, throw him in there. And you really never know. I mean, it depends on who makes the wide receiving 53-man roster, too, in that room. So we could be speculating and not even be close to being right. But that being said, let's stay on this roster news information. Reported and broken by our own JC Allen right before we hopped on the show here. Michael Pratt, who went on IR, has settled with the Buccaneers on an injury settlement, ultimately ending up in him being released. He is no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and they are going to go move forward. Shaking up the quarterback room a little bit from a season ago. Obviously, that happened a week and a half or so ago with the incoming addition of Teddy Two Gloves and Teddy Bridgewater. But what does this mean for the quarterback situation? And you just kind of explain for the people watching what this move means and the steps that were kind of taken to get to this point.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing was that they liked Michael Pratt, right? They ended up signing him last year.
Right.
He got hurt. He hurt his lower back somehow during the offseason. We don't know how that happened. The question was going to be when he got hurt, and then they waived him. He would go to IR, and if they really liked him, they could keep him on IR for the whole rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
From his point of view, if he thought that his back was going to get better, then he would want to hit an injury settlement and be released, because then he could try and find a new team to contribute on and play. So one of two things happened here. He thinks that he can play, so he wanted an injury settlement, or the Buccaneers just don't want to store him all year. It's one of those two things, so he'll get another opportunity elsewhere. They have Kyle Trask and Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater is definitely a very veteran presence in the room that can offer a lot of knowledge to guys like Trask and Mayfield. Trask is definitely the backup. I think he's got most experience in the system. He's looked better, I think, in game time than Bridgewater has. The interesting thing here to me...
I don't know about last week. Teddy threw 2 touchdowns, dog.
He did. He also is partially responsible for that Jalen McMillan ball. But I think it's interesting because I think neither of those guys are going to be here next year. Right? Trask or Bridgewater.
I was only on a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah. And Bridgewater's definitely not, but I don't think Trask is either. So that means that next year you don't have a backup quarterback. So do the Bucs draft somebody? Do they get someone in free agency? That's kind of fun. But for right now, they don't need Michael Pratt. They don't want Michael Pratt. Or alternatively, Michael Pratt doesn't want to stay and he wants to go try and play. So that's why he ended up getting released. Injury settlement. They gave him his money. He's going to try and find somewhere else to play, and he must think he can get better from this injury sooner than not. So that's what that means. Yeah,
it was one way or another. It was going to happen, and I wanted to keep him, but obviously the Bucs or Michael thought a different direction, especially when you're trying to figure out roster, spots, how many guys you're going to keep in each room, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to that, little intricate details such as that are going to be able to decide it. And maybe it was, Michael Pratt's decision to make that move and go somewhere else, and good on him if he did. So instead of just sitting back there waiting for something to happen, that never does. So that's kind of the low there on Michael Pratt settling his injury settlement with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But shifting off of the roster stuff, River, we have our last preseason game of the season coming up here on Saturday. I unfortunately will not be able to make it. You will not be able to make it as well. So
I got a wedding, guys. I got a wedding. I do.
He's got a wedding. I've got a bachelor trip. It's that season.
Yeah.
But with
all of
that,
our friends are getting married. Yeah.
You're at that age, man. It's way more than it'll keep coming to you. About 25 to 27.
I've been to a lot of weddings already. So
yeah. Just how it rolls. But we'll have our own JC Allen will be up there in the press box. I'm assuming our founder, Logan Robinson, will also be up there. So we will have guys out there covering the preseason game for you guys if you guys are interested. That being said, there's not going to be any starters in this one. Todd Bowles came out today, told the media, we relayed that on to everybody else. The starters are not going to be playing a lick of football this upcoming Saturday night. And with that, that's going to provide ample opportunity for some of these guys fighting for the 53-man roster, fighting for these spots, these depth positions on the roster as well, for them to get that extra playing time to be able to prove that they deserve one of those selective spots. 53 men, that's not a whole lot. You think it's a lot in your head, but then you look at it on the field and it's really not that many guys. So River, my question to you, there's some guys that need to step up, some guys that are like right there on the line that need to do just a little bit more to show that they are worth it. Who are these guys that are needing to step up here on Saturday to make a play, make a couple plays to be able to earn a spot here on this team?
I'll save the best one for first. How about we just jump right into it? It's Shiloh Sanders, right? Shiloh's really got to make a big impact in the safety room. He's got some guys ahead of him. J.J. Roberts definitely would have made the team over him. Unfortunately, he's out for the year. The Bucs liked him so much that they just put him on IR for the year, so they're not releasing him waived injured. They absolutely, that to me seems like they would have signed him for sure. He's got to play Kayvon Merriweather and Rashad Wisdom for a safety spot, right? If you count the safety spots off, Antoine Winfield Jr. is probably going to make the team. Tyke Smith probably going to make the team, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got Christian Izien right there who can kind of float around and do all that stuff. So that's 3 safeties already if you want to count Izzy's a safety.
Yeah, it'll be a numbers game when it comes to him.
Exactly. So those 3 made it. We actually have confirmation that Christian Izien did make the team. He's the only player Todd Bowles has definitively said made the team. You've got 3 defensive backs, Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, and Benjamin Morrison. So that's 6 DBs already, right?
Yeah.
So now you're getting into the margins. So it's going to be Kayvon Merriweather probably, or
Rashad
Wisdom.
Jacob Parrish in there
Jacob
too.
Parrish is a nickel as well. He's going to make it too. So he's going to compete with those 2 guys, right? It's going to be Kayvon Merriweather to be Rashad Wisdom to make the 53. I think both of them have an advantage over Shiloh Sanders. I think Kayvon Merriweather in particular seems like the guy I think that would make it. He has experience playing in the system. He's played decent football. We saw it last year in relief of some guys. I think he's probably the one to make it. Shiloh, I think, is probably a practice squad guy at best. That's what I would say. So that's going to be important to watch. Cameron Johnson is another one. Cameron with a K. Tough wide receiver room here, guys. He's got to contend with Tez Johnson. He's got to contend with Rakim Jarrett, Trey Palmer, and Ryan Miller. All of those guys. He's been hurt for most of the season. So if he wants to do something, he's got to do it right now. Right?
So he's back to practice, right?
Yes, he has been back practicing, and he will play a lot. And that's kind of the thing about this, guys. If you are in a preseason game, the last one, and you are playing beyond the first quarter, you are in trouble. you are at that point actively fighting tooth and nail. Nick Jackson, linebacker, 73 NCAA games played record, has played very well so far in camp and preseason. He'll probably get a lot of playing time as well in that linebacker room. Curious to see what he can do. We were told Anthony Walker, the linebacker, was close to returning a few weeks ago. He has not returned. He's still hurt. Todd Bowles did not have an update on him today, so that's not good.
Yeah.
With that in mind, that might be a way that Nick Jackson can kind of slide in, right? I think a 53 would be a triumph for him, but they like him a lot. So I think depending on how much he plays, really the thing to look out for and look at is people who aren't playing, right? If you're not playing past the first quarter in this game, you probably have a pretty good shot to make this roster. Because you're going to have a lot of camp bodies just filling out the preseason after that. You will. Guys like, Will Brooks, they just signed from Tennessee. Guys like that.
The backs.
What'd you say?
Like the running backs.
Yeah, Owen Wright. Now, Owen Wright's interesting because I think he's played pretty well, so they might want to not play him in hopes that teams don't see how well he's been playing so they can give him a practice squad. But, yeah, exactly. Guys like Josh Williams are probably going to get a lot of snaps. That's another potential practice squad guy trying to make the team. So I would look at who starts the game. We know that Kyle Trask is starting so far preseason. Who starts the game? And after the first quarter, midway through the second quarter, who's still out there? And the guys that are still out there are probably in trouble. So I think that's a good way to look at it and watch and kind of figure out who's on the roster bubble at that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Shiloh came to mind for everybody because you heard his name a lot that first preseason game. You saw him a lot that first preseason game, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but in that second preseason game, I didn't hear him talked about at all. I didn't see Todd necessarily put him in any advantageous positions like we saw him put him in that first game where he sent him on a blitz. So, that's probably the most obvious one. Desmond Watson situation.
They're probably going to keep Desmond Watson around.
Yeah.
On the injury list or illness list in this case to get him down to weight, and then they can make a decision about him later.
Yeah, I'm curious on what that looks like because I've never seen a situation like this where a guy can be put on a list such as, the physically unable to perform list due to illness. But what are the parameters that surround that? I don't know. That might be a ChatGPT question.
Think about him like the Anthony Richardson of being a defensive tackle, another Gator, in the way
I was gonna say, but I didn't want to take a shot at you, River.
No, that's fine. In a way that his physical athleticism is just crazy. Right. I would like to remind people that he ran a 4.93 at 464 pounds at the NFL Combine. That's ridiculous. He's a superb athlete. He's an incredible athlete. But in order to be valuable, he's got to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is, if he does get down to so if he lost 100 pounds, if he does get down to 350 or 360 or 370 or whatever,
that's pretty good.
It would be good. That's around VFA weight. And with how athletic he is, imagine what he could open up if he is at that weight. Now, that's what the Bucs are thinking, right? Imagine if.
I mean, that's what
for all my Justin Herbert fans out there know the word "if" very well, and you can use it for Desmond Watson too. Really, it's just the potential that he has, and there's not a lot invested into him, guys. He's guaranteed $70,000. You can keep him around for not that much money. You can give him a 21-day activation window off the NFI. If he looks good and you want to, mess around with him, great. If he doesn't, you can just cut him for not that much strife. So I think that's where we're at.
Yeah. So interesting things to unfold. We've got this last preseason game, then we've got 2 weeks-ish until the first regular season game of the year, which will be kicked off against the Atlanta Falcons, which we're all looking forward to. So that's really going to be fun. We're going to really ramp up, content that we've got going for you guys. We've got it going over there at BucsGameday.com. So if you guys haven't already checked out our website, please head over there. Super simple. Bucs, like your favorite team. Gameday, all one word.com. Very simple. Be in there. River's crushing it over there, as are the rest of our writers. I am writing at nights. I am trying to get out as much content as I possibly can myself. I'll have some probably coming out here in the morning for you guys as well.
We'll need that because I'm going to St. Augustine for this wedding. So
well, I'll be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, man. I'm gonna get me a nice spotted cow, one of the best beers out there by far. I know you're not a big drinker. I know that. I'm just saying, if you've never had a spotted cow, A+ beer. If you could learn how to
keep that
make
in
beer,
mind.
make it like a spotted cow, and the people are sure to come. You build it.
They will come. Yes.
Okay.
Field
That's
of dreams. Field of dreams.
With that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you were watching anywhere else other than on YouTube, if you're watching on X, if you're watching on Facebook, head over to our YouTube, create an account if you don't already have one, subscribe to us, click that subscribe button. It's one click, super easy, almost no touch, depending on how you like to go about it in your marketing area of the world. While you're there, while you're watching us, while you're browsing through all the rest of the videos that we have, click that like button. We love to rack up those likes. Click that notification button to turn your notifications on. Anytime we are going live, you will be alerted on that, as well as anytime we post a new video, like River and our founder, Logan Robinson, did today in their post-training camp recap for the last day of training camp. That was today. With that being said, River, I think that's all we have for tonight, so I'll let you go ahead and log us off.
Fire the cannons.
Fire the cannons.